It is the June 9th episode of the Daily Betslip. It is myself, it is Donnavan, Smoot, and more importantly than anything else, it is the start of the CFL season. We are going to spend the entire episode giving a team-by-team breakdown, big season preview for the CFL. No, I'm just joking. We're not going to talk about CFL, but we do have a jam-packed show. We got some MLB picks to get through. Game of the night, which is tonight's Game 5 between the Rangers and Lightning. We got community picks. We got bad beat of the day. And we're going to talk a little bit of NFL. We've obviously talked about teams that we think are going to do well this season. Today, we're going to talk about our predictions for who the worst teams are going to be in the NFL season. I do want to say, though, the CFL season does start tonight. If you're looking to bet on it, I do love the Stampeders. I joked with Donnavan before we went live. I wanted to see if he could name the 9 cities that have CFL teams. Didn't even ask for the names of the teams, just the 9 cities. And I gave him a hint that one of them was located in our nation's capital, and he guessed Quebec. So for all you Canadians out there, tough. Donnavan, do you have a comment about that? I had to bring it
up. Don't do me like that. Don't do me like that.
I had to.
When was the last time that you genuinely just sat down and looked at a map? If you weren't taught these things, nobody just goes and looks at a map. And so in the US, they don't teach us about you guys. We don't learn about Canada that.
Here's the thing. I'm not a good person at it because that is generally a fair question, but I love maps. And when I was a kid, I usually literally would rent out atlases from the library and just stare at maps all day. So to be fair, I love a good map. I love a good map. But enough about that, though. I had to bring that up. I was flabbergasted that you said that, but that's okay. We'll teach you a little bit about Canada as the CFL season goes on. But enough about that. Let's start off right away with the bad beat of the day, and then we are going to get into community picks and our best bets for tonight. So I believe one bad beat of the day, Donnavan, I don't know if you want to tackle this one, was in the WNBA last night.
Yeah. So listen. So our guy Ben. Why did I say it like that? Our guy Ben had the Mystics -2.5 last night. They were up 13 with 5 minutes to go, and Chicago comes storming all the way back. They get a chance to tie the game to end it. Candace Parker gets a layup at the rim to try and tie the game. They end up losing, right? But the fact that Washington was up 13 with 5 minutes to go and blows this lead, at that point, you're saying, okay, this is going to be good. Starters are going to come out in maybe 2 minutes and we're going to be okay. Chicago said no. They kept everybody in. They kept fighting. And that's a tough loss. It's a really tough loss. And it hurt for both Ben and I because that means that our combined WNBA picks yesterday went 0-2. And so we missed on both of them yesterday. I know it was a tough night. But that one was a little bit tough in the WNBA. And I think this next one, you got it though.
Yes, yeah, I had one last night, but that WNBA one, it hurts even more. The fact that they still won by 2. It'd be a different thing if they had that lead and then they blew it and then straight up lost, but they still won. But then they miss cashing the spread by the hook. That stings. I feel like there's more bad beats in basketball than any other sport, but my bad beat, I don't know if it's necessarily a bad beat. It's kind of a bad beat. I was on the Rockies last night. Almost 2-1, plus 195 underdogs. I thought they were a great underdog bet last night. Went to extra innings against the Giants. They were not able to score in the top of the 10th, which maybe doesn't make it necessarily a bad beat. But on the bottom of the 10th, the Giants obviously had the ghost runner on second. Rockies got 1 out. And then for the second guy played, and I forget who it was, it hit a ground ball out to the outfield. The runner on second was not going to score, but the outfield fumbled the ball. So obviously the runner got home, and that was the end of the game. I think it was Charlie Blackmon. While you were explaining the WNBA one, I was trying to find out who exactly it was. Because as soon as I saw him fumble the ball, I just literally shut my stream off immediately. So I think it was Charlie Black, whoever the right fielder is. And I think he plays center fielder, so maybe it wasn't Blackmon. Regardless, it killed me. So close to hitting an almost 2-1 underdog in Major League Baseball, and only for it to lose that way sucks.
That's tough. I think watching baseball players fumble either a pop fly or a ground ball, I think that that might be number one in terms of things people say when they scream at the TV and are like, "Come on, I can do that." It's either that or a free throw. And I don't know which one is like actually harder to do at a professional level, but I know that for sure, like the baseball one, people 100% think that they can do that 100% of the time. I think everybody thinks that they would be like a Gold Glove.
If you shot 100 free throws just by yourself, how many do you think you can make? Because when you said that, like, I never say that about NBA players saying I could do that because I cannot shoot a basketball. If I shot 100 free throws, I think I'd make like 20.
I'm a 68% free throw shooter.
Okay,
I've,
that's
I've,
pretty
I've done
solid.
I've done drills before. I'm not where I need to be, especially. Listen, I'm not like if we're playing pickup ball. I'm the guard, and so like you got to knock down free throws, even like if you're playing 21 or something like that. I'm not where I need to be. I need to get back into the gym, but listen. I'll get back there.
You got to dial that in before the next BetSided meetup because we're going to play pickup, and also we're going to race again. And next time I'm going to beat you. I've been training. No big deal. All right, let's get into our best bets for today. Let's actually just go ahead and start with the Twitter community picks, and then we'll give out our best bets. So why don't we bring up the first one here? Neil Parker at Neil Parker Bets, fellow Nova Scotian here. He chimed in. He's on Strasburg over 4.5 strikeouts. This is an interesting one because Strasburg is actually making his first start, his first action since all the way back on June 1st last year. I forget what the injury was, but it was a major injury he had. So Strasburg is making the comeback tonight. That's a bold move, in my opinion, to take an over on a strikeout total for a guy who hasn't pitched in a Major League Baseball game in over a year. I can't really argue too much against it. The Marlins and the Nationals are, by the way, playing the Marlins. Marlins aren't a great team in terms of strikeouts, 22nd in strikeout rate, so tough one. But I mean, like I said, he hasn't pitched in over a year, so who knows what we can expect. And also, who knows how long he's going to be out there, too. He might be on a little bit of a short leash.
Yeah, I think this one is very, very aggressive because our guy Peter Dewey, he took Strasburg's over at 3.5 earlier today in our best bets, roundtable that we do, and he was saying Strasburg has been very dominant in his minor league starts. He's looked very, very good, and Washington, they said that they're not going to have any. They actually said that there's not going to be many restrictions on Strasburg, and he should be free to go. But at the same time, listen, 4.5 in your first time pitching over a year and a half. I'm not sure. I would wait till start number 2, but maybe you get a little bit of value because it is his first one and because he might be a little bit undervalued. So I don't hate it, but for me, I would wait until the second one.
Yep, totally fair. I did not know that they said that there wouldn't be any restrictions on him. That's good to know. Obviously, that's good news for the bet. I didn't know Peter was on it as well. So good luck to you both, Neil and Peter, with that bet tonight. I won't be tailing it myself. Like I said, just too many question marks, but I won't argue against it either. All right, let's go ahead and bring up the second community pick of the night. Fade to Glory, who last time I was on Daily Betslip gave us a couple picks, and they both hit, I believe. It was a parlay at the time and a baseball pick as well, and they both hit. So his name is Fade Me to Glory, but now you went 2-0. I don't really want to fade you now. So tonight he's on Braves Pirates over 8.5, and he also said Angels are winning today, maybe. I'll have a pick on the Angels game. We'll get to that in a little bit. Actually, Donnavan, I think you have at least one bet for that game as well. Braves and Pirates, Brew Baker against Fried. I did look into this a little bit. The Braves bats have been pretty hot. I think they're third in OPS so far in June. Obviously not a huge sample size, but in that game, the bet I would actually go towards is Brew Baker's strikeout, which I think is a 4.5. I think it is 4.5 or 5.5. I wrote an article on BetSided this afternoon about the teams with the highest strikeout rates, and the Braves, despite being the defending champions, have the highest strikeout rate in all of Major League Baseball. So it's been a strategy I've been using. Go ahead and just look at whatever pitcher they're facing and take the over on that pitcher strikeout total. It's worked for me so far. So if I were to bet on the game, I would go that way. But I won't argue against the over either.
Yeah, I don't think the over is a bad play either. I know. Listen, the Braves, they have been hot. They're 8-2 in their last 10 games, and so you kind of seen this resurgence. I don't know if they're going to be good enough to catch the Mets this year because they're 7 games back right now. But taking the over even against two offenses that do strike out a lot. I mean, recently the bats are hot, so I'm not mad at this one.
Yeah, I like it. Best of luck to you. Fade me to glory. Let's go ahead and bring up the third pick. Benny at third and Ben. I love that Twitter username, by the way. A little play on words. Gotta love a play on words. Yankees team total over 4.5. I love this bet. I might just be tailing it because the Yankees are going against Dylan Bundy. Dylan, a.k.a. Al Bundy, who stinks. And generally betting team totals when Dylan Bundy is pitching is a good move. His last start, he gave up 5 earned runs. Start before that, he gave up 4 earned runs. A couple start before that, he gave up 9 earned runs, 6 earned runs. He has an ERA of 5.57 this year. He stinks. The Yankees offense, as much as it pains me to say it, they're good.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Anything offensive related to the Yankees, I have no problem tailing at all. The Yankees offense is just extremely explosive. They average, right around like 1.5 homers per game. You know that the long ball is going to be a big part of their offense. That some place where they can rack up a whole bunch of runs at once. And so if you're talking about over the entire game, over 4.5, I like it. They might get this, like you said, off of Bundy alone. So anything offense related to the Yankees, I like it. Might be tailing it myself.
Yeah, and of course, I'm sure Peter Dewey probably likes it as well because he's a big Yankees fan and he loves Aaron Judge.
All right.
No. Aaron Judge is going to fall off at some point this season. Just watch. All right, let's bring up the fourth and final community pick for tonight. Sean Mitchelson at the Sox Fan 24, who has given out picks for us in the past and has hit them at a pretty high rate, says A's team total under 3.5. A's offense is pathetic and has scored just 14 runs over their last 8 games, going over 2 just once. This is kind of the complete opposite of the Yankees pick. You're taking the last guy took the team total over for one of the hottest offenses in baseball. And now we're going the team total under for one of the worst offenses in baseball. Just in the month of June itself, the A's are batting 179. Not good.
That is absolutely terrible. The interesting part, though, about like if you look at the A's numbers, they're still hitting the over fairly regularly. They're either hitting the over or pushing. And that just means they're getting blown out, right? So if you want to take the other side on the run line, that's also another potential play that you can take in this game, because the last game they lost 13-2, then they covered, but then they've missed on the run line in 4 of their last 5 games. So if you want to maybe couple this up and say that the A's are obviously going to have a bad offensive game and get blown out in the same time, that's probably a pretty good strategy as well.
Yeah, I like it. That game is starting about 10 after 7, so I like that quite a bit. I think the A's might end up being actually, by the end of the year, I think they might have the worst record in baseball because they stink. All right, those were the community picks for tonight. Let's get into our best bets. How do you want to do this? Because I believe yours are all baseball. Let me dish out my hockey plays, and then we'll alternate back and forth with a couple baseball picks. How does that sound?
Sounds good. All
right. So I have 3 plays for tonight. My favorite play, actually a play on the side, I'll give out when we talk about the game in a little bit more detail later on the show. But I have 2 prop bets that I like tonight. The first one is Andres Palat over 0.5 points. So for him to basically just record a single point tonight. I think he is the most underrated player on this Tampa Bay Lightning team. He had 3 points in Game 4. He had a goal and 2 assists, and he has at least 1 point in 6 of his last 7 games. So this is a guy who's contributing on a pretty regular basis, and we're getting good odds on it. It's not like, most, over 0.5, points for most of the top guys on the Lightning are juiced to minus 175, minus, 180, things like that. Pretty decent odds, minus 108 at WinBet for him to record a single point tonight. And like I already said, he has a point in 6 of his last 7 games. So that is my first prop bet that I like. Palat over 0.5 points. Pretty good odds with that. And the other one is one that I've been betting on quite often this postseason, and that's goalies over their save total. So we're going back to this one tonight. So Igor Shesterkin over 33.5 saves, minus 115. It did not hit last game. It missed just by a little bit in the last game, but the Lightning in this series are averaging 38.5 shots on net per 60 minutes of the series. And we're going to talk about this a little bit later when we dive into the game of the night here. But, I mean, it's the same story basically every single game for the Rangers this entire playoffs. They're going to get outplayed. They might win the game, but if they win the game, it's going to be because Shesterkin plays really well and because he gets a lot of saves. They did actually, ironically, outshoot the Lightning in Game 4 when they lost. But pretty much for the most part, every single other game this postseason, they're getting outshot. So Shesterkin, one way or another, is going to face a lot of shots, which should hopefully result in a lot of saves. I think there was one game earlier this year. I think it was Game 3. He had like 51 saves or like 49 saves or something like that. So Shesterkin over 33.5 saves in Game 5 tonight is my second of 3 bets, and then I'll give out my pick for the side. I mean, if you've been listening to me talk about the playoffs at all, then you probably know which side I'm on, but we'll get to that when we get into the game of the night. Let's now turn over to baseball. Donovan, why don't you start with your first MLB pick for tonight?
Yeah, and so I'm gonna start in Miami. I'm gonna take the under on Trevor Rogers strikeout props, under 4.5 strikeouts. And look, it's a very simple strategy. Rogers has 10 starts this year. He's only cleared this line in 2. This is what he does. He comes in under 4.5 strikeouts. Listen, the Nationals strike out. Even though that the Nationals aren't like this crazy, explosive offense, the Nationals strike out at the second lowest rate in the league according to team rankings. And so it's a very simple idea. You're gonna take a pitcher who doesn't strike out a lot of people against a team that doesn't strike out often. And listen, the juice isn't bad on it, so I'll take the under here.
I like that quite a bit, and also a thing with Trevor Rogers, which is something you should always keep in mind when doing these strikeout props, is he has a 5.8 ERA. So, like, who knows how long he's going to last in this game? He could get lit up pretty early and not make it even to 5 innings. So, getting yanked early is always going to help a strikeout prop. So, yeah, I like that quite a bit. Why don't you go ahead and give out your next one?
Yeah. So so we're actually all picking from the same game for our next 3. They're all coming from the Red Sox and Angels game. So I'll start on the other side from where you are picking, but I think I will go with Nick Pivetta over 5.5 strikeouts, minus 125. Look, Pivetta, he's hot, right? He's won his last 5 starts. He's cleared this line in 2 of his last 4. But the 2 starts that he's missed it in, he was right at it. You missed the prop by the hook, and he's always around this number. The Angels obviously on this insane losing streak, and so I think that tonight's going to be a really good opportunity for Pivetta to go out, get a couple strikeouts against a team that's really, really struggling, and he's going to be able to get on the right side of that hook and clear this line. And so I like Pivetta to come out and do that.
Yeah, and the Angels have had strikeout issues too. 27th in strikeout rate, striking out on 24.6% of their plate appearances and 26.7% of their plate appearances over their last 3 games. So, yeah, tough to argue against that one. I like that one quite a bit as well.
Yeah, and so I'll go with my last one, then you can end because we're kind of on the same side in this one. So my last prop is Shohei Ohtani over 6.5 strikeouts, and so Ohtani he got rocked in his last start, right? The Yankees came in, they blew him up, they hit 3 homers off of him. He only had 2 strikeouts. He only pitched 3 innings. The thing with Ohtani is that he's very, very good in bounce back situations. He's never missed this line twice, and the 3 times that he's done it this season, the first time he missed it, he came back and threw 12 strikeouts. The second time he missed it, he came back through 11 strikeouts. The third time he came back and threw 7 strikeouts. So he's never missed this line twice. Obviously, he's coming off of a game where he missed it and he had a terrible outing. I'm expecting him to bounce back like he normally does and maybe put the Angels in a really good position to actually, break their streak and get back on track.
Yeah, I like that bet, and that kind of leads right into my pick because I am going to take the Angels to finally break their losing streak tonight. And I think a lot of people are, because of this losing streak, they're looking at the Angels and they're just calling them trash. And to be fair, obviously, their offense hasn't been great. But I don't think it's necessarily that the Angels are bad. I think it's kind of have you played blackjack at all, Donnavan?
Yeah.
So sometimes when you play blackjack, you just lose a lot of hands in a row, and it's not because the odds have shifted in your favor and like you had like all of a sudden you only have a 10% chance to win these hands. Just sometimes you go on a cold streak, and I think that's kind of what's happening with the Angels. I think the dealer is just hitting 20 or 21 against them every single game that they play. So I'm not low on the Angels because of this hot streak. They'll bounce back. They're not a bad team. And Shohei Ohtani has had better pitching numbers this season at home, which is always good. Their bullpen is still fine. Their bullpen isn't putting up terrible numbers throughout this stretch. And they're also 13th in OPS this season against righties, and they're taking on righty Nick Pivetta. So maybe this is stupid. Maybe, maybe my reasoning is dumb, but they're going to win at some point. So I'll take the Angels. Like I said, I just don't think – I don't think they're playing terribly. I just think it's a matter of just sometimes you get on a cold streak. I think it breaks tonight. I'll fall for it. Angels minus 109 at WinBet.
Yeah, listen, sometimes, and I feel like we're at the point where everybody's just going to keep, hopping onto the streak, and then like, oh, well, the Angels, they're on this crazy long losing streak. They're just going to lose. They're just going to lose. Like you said, at some point the streak has to end. So you might as well just start backing the other side. And if the Angels want to go on some, crazy 20-game losing streak, it was just meant to be at that point.
Yes. Also, that is the gambler's fallacy, though, of just because if something happens a ton of times in a row, you think that also it's just due to go the other way, which is not necessarily true. But we'll see how it goes. I'll take a shot at it tonight, finally ending. All right, those are our best bets. I believe I have a little recap graphic for if anyone missed any of them at the start. So I got 2 prop bets in the NHL over 0.5 points. So for Andres Palat to get a point, over 33.5 saves for Igor Shesterkin, and for the Angels to finally break their losing streak against the Red Sox tonight. And you have 3 strikeout props. All 3 are overs, over 5.5 for Nick Pivetta. Was it Trevor Rogers that over or under? I think Trevor Rogers is supposed to be under 4.5. And then over 6.5 for Shohei Ohtani. So 2 overs, 1 under for strikeout props.
Yeah.
So there you go. And like I said, we are going to have a pick on a side for the Lightning and Rangers game. That's coming up at the end of the show. And also I put out a video today in case you didn't see it. I already talked about it at the top of the show, but I love Stampeders minus 3.5 against the Alouettes in CFL opening night tonight. Let's talk about let's talk a little NFL. Like I said, we've talked about the teams that we think are going to be good this year, teams that are going to do well, but what about teams that are going to do poorly? So me and you, Donnavan, we have our picks for which team we think is going to finish dead last in the NFL, and then we got picks for teams that might surprisingly be bad, kind of a dark horse worst team. Maybe not they're going to finish at the bottom of the standings, but a team who a lot of people are kind of high on that we might not necessarily be high on. So let us start with the team that we think is going to finish in last place in the NFL. Donnavan, why don't you go ahead? And I'm sure that your pick will not be biased as an Eagles fan.
Listen, I'm the most unbiased person of all time. All right. Now with that, the New York Giants are going to suck this year. The New York Giants are going to be absolutely terrible. You said it. I think you said it in a conversation earlier. The Giants are the most irrelevant sports team in the city of New York. And they have a lot going against them. I'm not a huge believer in Daniel Jones. I think that the Giants are at a point where they need to make a decision on the quarterback, and there's one or two things that they can do. They can either, buy into Daniel Jones, give him a little bit more time, and continue just rocking with the amount of turnovers that Daniel Jones continuously has every single year, or they blow it up midway through the season, maybe sit him down, start tanking, doing all that stuff. But the Giants offensively, I think the most exciting piece on their offense right now is Kadarius Toney. Other than that, I don't think that there's anything on offense that surprises me. The defense maybe has a little bit of flair to it, but at the same time, they are in a division with the Dallas Cowboys, with the Eagles, who are much improved over this offseason. The Commanders, who I'm not that high on, however, the Commanders did beat them last year. I can't remember if they split the season series, but I do know that they got one win against them. So I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel for the Giants.
Does Saquon Barkley have a bounce back here, or is
No,
he going to be labeled a bust?
he's done.
Oh,
Saquon's done.
done.
I think he'll listen. He'll be decent, right? And so like maybe that goes against saying that he's done. But in terms of like the Saquon Barkley that everybody thinks like he can get back to, that version of Saquon is no longer here. He's had too much time off and he hasn't shown enough in that time.
My take on Saquon Barkley is he is the perfect type of running back that he's very good in open field, but the running back position is all about the first like 3 to 4 yards, and he's not a guy that's going to find those tiny holes and squeak out those 3 to 4 yards. If he played for a team that had a really good offensive line and a team that like had a really good quarterback and a really good passing attack to kind of take pressure off him, that's where he would be able to kind of perform. But he plays in a team where nobody's concerned about the pass and a team that has one of the worst offensive lines in football. And that's just not a winning situation for a guy that plays his style of running back, which is very much an open field style. So I don't think he's going to have a big year, but I don't think that's necessarily on him. I think he's in a bad situation.
It'd be like that sometimes, but for
that.
It really does. But like for Saquon, if the Giants are trying to build their offense around Saquon and Kadarius Toney, the thing that they actually have to do is probably use Toney in a Deebo Samuel type role and just say, hey, you run the ball, right? You have to do everything because he's the most explosive player that they have. Saquon, he showed it at times and he had spurts last year, but at the end of the season, he still averaged less than 4 yards per carry last season. So, and like you said, if you're not giving him the space up front, he's coming off of several just like lower leg injuries. He had the torn ACL. Once you have that as a running back, a lot of your explosiveness and power goes away. I don't think that he has any more. And so with that, I just think that the Giants are going to be last in the NFC East, and they're probably going to compete to be the first team picking in the draft next year.
Well, I'm going with another NFC East team. I'm going with the Commanders. So we are on two different NFC East teams, which actually it's going to be kind of hard actually I'm going to contradict ourselves. It's going to be hard for these NFC East teams who are bad, but for them to finish dead last because the NFC East is such not a good division that like they're going to get at least a couple wins just like beating each other up. But Carson Wentz is their starting quarterback right now, and he is going to be playing against or behind one of the worst offensive lines in football, which is just going to be an absolute disaster. Also, there's the controversy around Dan Snyder. That's a whole cloud over the organization, going to take focus off a lot of things. And their defense, remember how good their defense was 2 years ago? They took a massive step backward last year. I assume we're going to see more of the same from them this year. So I will take the Washington Commanders to finish dead last in the NFL in their first year of the Commanders era.
I like it. Listen, I think that both of them, even though that like it may be hard for both of them to be in the bottom, you might see a situation like last year's AFC South where you have both the Jags and the Texans near the bottom of the league, and the top two teams last year for the AFC South, Colts and Titans. For the NFC East this year, Cowboys, Eagles. Maybe you just have a really, really big divide, and both these teams could potentially be at the top of the draft.
Yep, that's a very good point. That certainly could happen. Really quick, give me your pick for the team that you think is going to be surprisingly bad this year.
I will go with the Tennessee Titans. I think that the Titans, like Ryan Tannehill is not that guy. They've lost Julio Jones, who wasn't like a huge part of the offense. He was big by name, but in terms of production, he wasn't fantastic. The big loss is AJ Brown on the outside. And now you resort to really Ryan Tannehill turning into a handoff machine with Derrick Henry. And listen, Derrick Henry he's the best running back in football. But how many years in a row can you expect a guy to take 300, 350 plus carries, run for 2,000 yards every single year. And you finally saw the wear and tear at the end of last season where he gets hurt. I think that Henry is being put in a bad position because the Titans don't have any, other offensive game plan that they can consistently go to take pressure off of Derrick Henry. So I think they're going to be one dimensional on offense. The defense has been up and down for several years now. And without those playmakers on the outside, I don't see where they get it done. And they're in a division with the Indianapolis Colts, who I think are going to be much improved this year and win that division. So there's not going to be the amount of just easy wins for the Titans.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I was obviously harping on them all last year, calling them the frauds of the NFL because like their statistics weren't good. Like they're winning games, but they're getting outplayed almost every single game. So I agree with that. If the record, unless they improve and like maybe they just end up playing better, then that's fair. Then they're going to be a decent team. But if their record indicates, or at least is a truer indication of their stats this year, they'll take a step back for sure. The team I think might be surprisingly bad. The New England Patriots. Maybe I'm a little bit biased because there's no team in sports I hate more than the New England Patriots. But they still are kind of lacking in offensive weapons. I know they have Devontae Parker now, but they don't really have a big explosive guy on offense. Matt Patricia looks like it's going to be their offensive coordinator, which seems insane to me. I don't know how that's going to work out. I'm not still fully sold on Mac Jones as a quarterback. I could end up looking very stupid with that take, and I know he was, I think, second in Offensive Rookie of the Year voting last year, but he just had some bad games. And the rest of the division, I think, has gotten significantly better. Obviously, the Bills are the Super Bowl favorites. The Jets had a fantastic draft, a fantastic offseason. The Dolphins added Tyreek Hill, and I don't really see how the Patriots improve. So I think a team that might be surprisingly bad this year is going to be the Patriots.
No, I agree with you. I think that there is a lot of value on the under in the Patriots win total this year. Like you said, the rest of the division really stepped up. And you look at Matt Patricia might be the one calling plays. Just PU, that's a terrible situation. That's literally all I can say is like I'm very surprised at what Bill Belichick is putting around Mac Jones in terms of personnel. Because he's gone out and gotten the 2 tight ends last year. The running back stable is still pretty good, but they still haven't been able to get they haven't had an elite outside wide receiver since Randy Moss. And so it's been almost a decade and a half since you had a top tier outside threat like that. So the Patriots, and also on defense, they lose J.C. Jackson on defense. And that's a really big piece. So yeah, I can see the Patriots taking a step back this year.
Glad that we agree on that one. Let's dive into the little game of the night here. Let's talk a little hockey. By the way, recap of the rookie versus the vet. By the way, I don't know if you've kind of realized this, but no matter what the result of the Lightning Rangers series is, you're going to have a 1-point lead heading into the Stanley Cup final.
I absolutely knew that. I knew that. Right now, we still have another round to go. I'm not going to celebrate prematurely. Job's not finished. Job's not done. And we have one more series to pick and to line it up. So we'll be ready though.
Yes, because you picked the Avalanche. I was on the Oilers. Neither of us got the amount of games right. I think you said Avalanche in 6. I said Oilers in 7. It was Avalanche in 4. So that gave you the 1 point. We were both on the Lightning in the Eastern Conference Final. But I was on 4 games, you're on 5. It's going to go at least 6 now, so neither of us will get a point there. And obviously, we can't gain a point no matter who wins the series. So we either both get a point or both don't get a point. So you will have a 1-point lead heading into the Stanley Cup final, which means if I want to win the competition, I have to hit both the winner and the exact amount of games. I could, in theory, get 1 point somehow and tie it up, and you don't get any points. But if I want to win, I need to hit both the winner and the exact amount of games of the final. So
that's pressure. That's pressure.
It's pressure. I was looking so good after the first round, and I have just collapsed since then. The playoffs have not gone how I thought they would, or how I wanted them to. So, not happy. But let's talk about tonight's Game 5. Obviously, the Rangers were up 2-0 in the series. The Lightning come back and tie it up 2-2. Story of the series is the exact same, and I'll use this to lead right into my pick. It's the same old thing in every single Rangers game, and I mentioned it earlier. They're going to get outplayed. They're most likely going to get outshot. So what side do you want to bet on? Do you want to bet on the team that's going to outplay their opponent, or do you want to bet on a team that relies on their goaltender? That's basically what it comes down to, because every time the Rangers win, it's because Igor Shesterkin steals the game for them. And if you want to go that direction, I wouldn't necessarily argue with you. But when I look at the stats for this game, I just have to keep backing Lightning. I get ripped apart on Twitter for like constantly fading the Rangers, but I just can't bet on a team who relies on a goaltender to stand on his head and stop almost every shot he gets. You look at the analytics. Lightning have a Corsi percentage of 53.92%, a Fenwick percentage of 54.76%. The expected goals per game in this series, the Lightning's expected goals are 4.08, and the Rangers' expected goals are 2.84. Like, in terms of just like between the blue lines, like which team is better, the Lightning are killing the Rangers. But Shesterkin, when he shows up, just steals games for them. Last game, he didn't. So we see what happens if Shesterkin doesn't have a fantastic game, because Rangers, for the first time all series, outshot the Lightning, but ended up losing, I think, 4-1, 5-1. So if you're betting on the Rangers, go ahead, but you're literally just betting on how good Shesterkin's going to perform. So that's why I take over Shesterkin save total and then Lightning to win, and then I might be able to cash both. Or if the Rangers win, he's almost certainly going to hit his save total over. So taking the Lightning, taking Shesterkin over, and taking Palat to score at least 1 point. That's how I'm attacking tonight's game. Donnavan, do you agree with me on this one?
I agree 100%. I mean, but listen, both of us thought that the series was going to be over very, 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 very early. I had the Lightning in 5. And I remember Reed asked me, because Reed and I were on, when going into game 3, when the Lightning were down 2-0, and he asked me if the Lightning still had value to win the series. I said absolutely, because at the end of the day, all New York did in those first 2 games was win at home, right? And I think that everybody saw it was just a matter of execution for Tampa Bay. They just had to come out and actually, play their style of hockey. And if you see what they've done over the last 2 games, they haven't allowed a goal 5-on-5. Right, they have 22 more high danger scoring chances over the course of the series, and so you see a team that actually can play offense, and so it was just a matter of Tampa Bay getting their footing, taking care of business at home, and now you're in a best of 3, and I'm taking Tampa Bay and their championship experience to come out and pull the series out.
Yeah, I wrote an article after game 1 when the Lightning lost game 1 that it was the time to bet on the Lightning to win the series. I think it was like plus 108, and I put 5 units on it. I was a game too early. I could have waited till after game 2. And honestly, because at one point in game 3, the Rangers got out to a 2-0 lead, and I thought, well, goes a ton of money that I just lost. But thankfully, Lightning came back and won that game, and then won game 4 pretty handily. Now it's a best of 3 series. So the Lightning do need to win on the road, though, obviously, because 2 of the next 3 games, if it goes to 7, will be in New York, and the Rangers are now 8-0 in their last 8 home games. So Lightning got to steal one on the road either tonight or in game 7. So we'll see how it goes. I'm glad we were on the same side. I assumed you're on the Lightning as well, considering before the series we both picked Lightning to win it. Peter will obviously not be happy with that, him being a Rangers fan. But like I said, I just can't bet on a team. And maybe this is like a fault of my own, a weakness of mine, but I just can't bet on a team that's getting outplayed, but just has, arguably the better goalie. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Game 5.
It seems like a very it's a very philosophical idea from you.
Yes.
On how to bet. And so, you saw it last year with the Titans. It's happening this year with the Rangers, and they're making a deep run. But yeah, the Lightning should wrap this up in 6.
I hope so. So we are both on the Lightning. Is the community on the Lightning with us? Yes, they are. So we did our poll on Twitter and on YouTube today. The community is also on the Lightning, which means we have to double up our bet. But now I am a little bit concerned, to be honest, because now don't be concerned. If we're all on the Lightning, that's concerning. Was it a game the other night where I think it was me, Peter, and the poll were all on one side and it went the opposite? What game was that? I think it was Oilers Avalanche, and I think we were all on the Avalanche, and the Avalanche did end up winning, but the Oilers were up early. I think that's what it was. So there you go. We are all on the Lightning tonight. Let's go Tampa Bay. CFL game tonight. MLB action tonight. Any closing remarks, Donnavan, before we wrap this up?
Listen, we got a lot going on. in what is about to be the dog days of summer. But shout out to the entire country of Canada. I will be learning your states and your provinces and your cities very, very soon, and so I will get myself a map.
And what is the capital of Canada?
I forgot already.
I told you what it was. I gave you a chance to redeem yourself.
I forgot already. My bad. What is it?
Ottawa.
Okay, cool. I will write that down.
Which is in Ontario, the province.
Okay. Got it.
The CFL team is the Ottawa Red Blacks. Shout out to the Red Blacks. Nate Sutar commented on YouTube. It didn't come up in our program for some reason, so we can't show it on the screen, but he said, MacMillan, Tampa Bay money line with a sprinkle on it to go to overtime. Well, we are already on Tampa Bay money line, so we're with you there. I don't hate sprinkling it to go to overtime. I don't think we've seen an overtime game in the series yet, so could happen tonight, especially if both goalies decide to bring their A game, which we haven't necessarily seen yet this series either. So there you go. That's our show. Thank you all for watching. If you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Tomorrow's show will be you and Reed, I believe. Donnavan, I think you two might be talking a little college football, maybe.
Yeah, maybe a little college football. Definitely NBA Finals action. So there's a lot to look forward to in tomorrow's show.
When's Game 4? Is that tomorrow night or Saturday night?
Yeah. Game 4 is tomorrow night.
Game 4 tomorrow night. Awesome. So tune in for that. I think that's it. Unless you have any closing remarks, thank you everyone for watching, and we will talk to you next time.